Welcome back. The National Executive Committee of the African National Congress says it expects the annual January the 8th statement to meet the challenges facing the country. President Jacob Zuma will deliver the statement in Rustenburg on Saturday during the party's 104th anniversary celebrations. SABC's acting political editor, Sophie Mokoena, is in Rustenburg to give us an analysis on what can be expected from the president. A very good morning to you, Sophie. And can you tell us what is likely to come out of the January the 8th statement that will meet the challenges that the country is facing?
Well, earlier on, my colleague Aldrin Simpia spoke to the chairperson of the African National Congress, Baleka, who outlined the issues that are likely to come up in the statement. She indicated that issues of elections, as you are aware that local government elections are just around the corner, the president will touch on that, mobilizing the ANC members and the country at large to rally behind the ANC during that elections, but also giving orders and instructions in terms of those who are likely to be the candidates of the African National Congress on what to do during the campaigning. But also, we are expecting the president also to give an indication whether, in terms of the metros, what is the strategy there to ensure that the ANC comes out victorious after the elections. You are aware there are talks that Tshwane, Eguruleni, Nelson Mandela Metro, there are challenges. We are hoping that President Zuma will kind of give an indication in terms of what needs to be done to ensure that ANC is victorious come end of the local government elections. He is going to touch on issues that affect the country, particularly issues of the economy. You are aware that currently we have serious challenges of economy, and President Zuma will highlight the ANC's position and perhaps the proposal and the suggestions how to address the challenge of the economy so that we deal with issues of unemployment, we deal with issues of poverty. The other issue, he is going to talk about the unity within the alliance. You are aware that to this January 8 statement, there were talks that there are some tensions within the alliance. The president will give us an indication that whether there is or there are any tensions within the alliance, or perhaps what needs to be done to strengthen that very same alliance. There were talks earlier on that the alliance components will not give the message of support because of the weather, but that issue has since been reversed. They will give the messages of support tomorrow morning, an indication that ANC is pulling all stops to ensure that there's unity going to this January 8th statement. He is going to touch on issues of education. We saw last year towards end of the year those fees must fall protest, and the president will try and highlight the ANC's position, but issues that are likely to be implemented by government to address the concerns of the young people who wants to go to the higher education institutions of learning. The other issue is health issues. The president will also touch on health issues, and of course issues of gender, and also perhaps talk about what ANC needs to do to avoid issues of divisions going to the 2017 National Conference.
Now, let's touch on unity, because that's one of the issues there. But how do South Africans reach that unity when the very same ANC have shown some schisms within the organization with the tripartite alliance that has come out in the Northwest?
I think earlier on, the chairperson of the ANC, Baleka, made it clear that it is important that as South Africans, we continue to strive to achieve the unity that President Mandela spoke about while he was the president of the country, but also the president of the ANC. Issues of social cohesion cannot be an overnight event or one-year thing. I mean, you are aware that when we talk about oppression in South Africa, it dates back hundreds and hundreds of years. Therefore, it will take time for us to really arrive at a point where we can say, indeed, in South Africa, there is cohesion among all of us. I mean, we are a diverse nation, different language, different culture, different religion, different, beliefs and norms. Therefore, it will take time. But I think what is critical for us as South Africans is always to remember that at the end of the day, we are all human race. We are all human beings, and therefore we must work together. We may have differences daily, how we see things and how we hope to address issues that affect all of us. But at the end of the day, we must never lose sight of the fact that we are all human beings, and therefore we must always try by all means to compromise if necessary, so that all of us we are accommodated. But the reality is, gone are the days where people can express or practice racism, sexism, and discrimination, or any form of intolerance. Even the United Nations conference some years back, it was here in South Africa, and South Africa was commended for ensuring that the racism conference was a success, because as South Africa, we believe that issues of racism cannot be allowed in this country, nor anywhere in the continent or around the world. Therefore, I think the responsibility is on our shoulders as South Africans, all of us, irrespective of color or creed or religious belief or political inclination. We must always ensure that we are united on issues of national interest, and our differences should not lead to racial intolerance or discrimination or sexism.
Now, you've touched on diversity. Unity in the party has been under scrutiny, as well as in the country, in light of the latest racist undertones that you've also mentioned that have come through social media. Will unity also be under the spotlight in the President's address?
Well, any leader, particularly a ruling party, you assess the mood of the nation, you assess the situation. There is no way President Zuma will not touch on issues of social cohesion. Looking at what has transpired since December and now, I mean, as a leader of the alliance, he will have to give marching orders in terms of the alliance components, what needs to be done to ensure that these issues don't or will not derail the country in terms of achieving the goal of a united country, but also a prosperous country, a country where there is no racial discrimination or sexism. And I expect President Zuma to point out at some examples that we experienced in December and even now, even yesterday, where he will say, but this is how we can handle these issues. At the end of the day, calling for unity, but also saying, as South Africans, as the continent, as the world, racism, sexism, any form of intolerance should not be tolerated.
Now, Sophie, the 104th celebrations come at a time when the Freedom Charter is more than 50 years old and is also under scrutiny. Is it justified to say, perhaps, that the ANC has deviated from the Charter?
That has been the talk, and also looking at the opposition, particularly the EFF, has gone to town to say, no, the ANC has kind of taken a step back in terms of what's contained in the Freedom Charter. But the ANC has come out strong to say they didn't, looking at issues of land, issues of mining, but of course saying that they must do more to ensure that those goals within the Freedom Charter are realized. And the Constitution is there. Coming to issues of land expropriation, the Constitution allows government to expropriate, but there are processes that needs to be followed. Issues of mining, the ANC is arguing that looking at the current act on mineral rights, they did address the issue of mining and mineral rights. Therefore, the ANC will continue to put its position and explain itself in terms of those criticisms.
Now, talking about the Northwest, there's always been problems in the Northwest. It seems like the ANC has chosen the Northwest to cement the support that they do have in the province there. But in essence, what is it that the ANC would like to get out of the 104th celebrations in Tlokwe?
I think more than anything, ANC, it's a tradition. I mean, this January statement has moved from one province to the other since the unbanning. I mean, all the provinces had an opportunity to host the ANC during this time of the year. I mean, last year it was Western Cape, a year before it was Durban, in 2012 it was Bloemfontein, now it's Northwest. Obvious next year it will be the other provinces. The same with the ANC conferences. They are moving from one province to the other. The same with the General Council. Sometimes it's being held in different provinces. Only the policy conference is confined to Gauteng because of resources, and also, I mean, there are no much burning issues. It's smaller delegation. But the reality is January 8 has been to different provinces. Yes, it's a bonus, perhaps, for the leadership of Northwest to have the ANC having this big event on the eve of the local government elections. But the reality is it has been a norm for years and years now, moving from one province to the other. Therefore, for me, it's quite difficult to say it's based on the fact that they want to strengthen their base in Northwest. I'm not so sure of that analysis or that perspective. I think it's more of the tradition of the ANC to move from one province to the other. And of course, it depends at that time what's happening in the country. At times it will coincide with a situation where it goes to a particular province and there are challenges in that province, and therefore those challenges will play themselves out, because the ANC members are smart people when coming to branches in particular. They will of course use the opportunity when they see the national leadership to express their views. I mean, they know that the leadership will listen and will address their problems. Therefore, I don't think it was based on the fact that there are challenges in Northwest, therefore let's go to Northwest. It's just a coincidence.
Sophie, thank you so much for that report. That was SABC's acting political editor, Sophie Mokoena, who was in Rustenburg to give us an analysis on what can be expected from the President January the 8th statement. That's the ANC celebrations out in Rustenburg.